My 600-Pound Life, Jeanne Covey, who was on Season 7, Episode 11, and this episode originally premiered in 2019. Jeanne is 39 years old. She lives with her mother and her father in Texas. She said that her mom was not around very much because she was working 2 jobs and that her grandmother was abusive to her. And she said that she got revenge on her grandmother by drinking her sodas. And she says that one of the ways that her grandmother abused her was by making her smoke cigarettes. By the age of 6, she was 100 pounds. And at 9, she was over 200 pounds. At 13 years old, her grandmother passed away, and Jeanne told her mother about the abuse. At 15, she was 300 pounds and she was bullied because of her weight. And then at 17, she dropped out of high school. By 18, she was 400 pounds. And by 23, she was 500 pounds and she went on disability. At 29, she was 600 pounds. She repairs her relationship with her father and he moves back in with them. In month 1, they make the 4-hour drive down to Houston, Texas. Dr. Now sees her. She's 702 pounds and Dr. Now says, you can lose about 100 pounds the next 2 months. That is the goal I'm going to set for you. She has this infection or whatever on her leg. It is bleeding a lot. It is infected. So he says, we got to get this taken care of. This is very serious, especially for somebody your size. So he admits her to the hospital so that they can work on cleaning up the infection and getting the wound in better care. She's in the hospital for 3 days and she drops 17 pounds, putting her at 685 pounds. In month 2, she is back at home. She has lost 53 pounds since she went into the hospital, so she is currently at 649. Month 3, she comes back for her checkup. Remember, she's supposed to be 100 pounds down. She was already 53 pounds down, which is halfway, and instead she gained 29 pounds, putting her up to 678. She just doesn't know why she gained the weight. She said that she had 1 day she messed up, and Dr. Now was like, to gain that much weight at your size, it's more than 1 day. And every time that she comes and she doesn't hit her goals, Dr. Now really gives it to her and really lays into her. And he's just not going to take any of these BS excuses from her. Month 5, she is 670 pounds, which is only an 8-pound weight loss over the last 2 months. And again, Dr. Now just gives it to her and is like, how did you only lose 8 pounds in 2 months when you lost 17 pounds in 3 days? Her mom recently had hernia surgery in her stomach. While they're at Dr. Now's office, she's like, hey, something's going on with my wound. He looks at it and it's big. It's softball size. It hasn't healed for several months. And he's like, that's infected. You got to go to the hospital. And Jeanne is like, my leg's pretty bad off. And he's like, you got to go to the hospital. So they're cleaning up Jeanne's wound. They do a surgery on her mom to take out the infected area. A few days later, they can't get a hold of Dad, which is home watching the dogs. So after a few hours, they still can't get a hold of him. The next morning, they still can't get a hold of him. So they send over the police for a wellness check. And unfortunately, the police call her back and let her know that her father has passed away in his sleep. They get medical transport back home the next day because they're fresh out of surgery to deal with everything that has happened. Month 6, she calls a therapist and she's having a therapy session. But instead of continuing with her journey, she decides to quit the program and says that it's just not the right time to quit food right now. So for her first episode, we leave off in month 6. Go to my next video and I'll talk about her Where Are They Now episode.